I know physicians aren't generally known for letting their guard down. So, what had you finally do the, okay, I give, I need help, and really completely shift your life?
Right? Yeah. No, you're
Yeah.
absolutely right. It's so true. We don't typically, well, I personally never put my guard down and I rarely show emotion. And so it wasn't by choice. I felt like something happened when my daughter got sick and it just completely upended my life. And I felt like I had to do something to sort of get back on track. And I think I just had to really dig deep to figure out how we're going to survive it. It was a really tough time when she was diagnosed with neuromyelitis optica at age 9.
So when you guys were in the hospital, I have this vision of you like being in control, taking care of everything, like doctor, mom, like just, you've got your son at home, like everything, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Oh God, that day was really, really tough.
I don't
So,
just, I mean, in general, like, because she wasn't just there a day, she was there.
right. But the first day I think that I took her to the ER was just indescribable, really. Because as you alluded to, prior to that, her first 9 years was she was robustly healthy and really like so healthy. She never even was on antibiotics. She never had missed a day of school. She just fully embraced life. And it was so shocking when she started getting sick. And I thought, oh, okay, so this is just maybe a GI bug or a flu. We were in the middle of winter, but it was just really unlike her. So that day that I took her to the emergency room was the day that I won't ever forget. Yeah. So we got there and I had already talked to a couple of the doctor people that I know in our community. So the neurologist ordered the brain MRI. And fortunately, my friend, also another radiologist, was there at the hospital. So he was able to get her on schedule right away. And when I saw those images, I was pretty horrified.
Well, she was in
Time
ICU for a while, right?
she was, yes, because so her disease, it's an autoimmune neurological disease. It's very rare, but it did affect her sort of brainstem and cranial nerves. And so she was having trouble swallowing, moving her tongue, and sort of in talking and breathing, really. So she was in the ICU because she had trouble with all of these sort of motor actions from like her mouth to her neck. It just sort of in a general way to describe that. So she did develop pneumonia and then she couldn't move her right arm and she couldn't eat, speak, like I said, just extremely weakened. And so that was our hospital stay, really horrifying from the person that she was before that.
What were some of the most incredible, powerful things that you learned?
Well, I learned the most important thing is that once I become aware of my thoughts, I could see myself sort of from the outside and see myself thinking things that just weren't true and sort of questioning why I was choosing to think those things. Specifically, in my case, why did I take on the burden of responsibility of blaming myself when, she had this disease? And I think it was something along the lines of maybe I should have like thought about her diagnosis earlier. Maybe I should have brought her into the ER sooner. Maybe I should have imaged her sooner or done something a little bit more aggressive. But, really in the grand scheme of things, I don't know that any of those interventions would have changed anything dramatically in the end. But yet, I did still carry that with me because I just seeing her so sick made me feel like I had done something wrong as a mother. So that was, I think, my most powerful realization to just sort of step back and say, well, why did I think that? And then I think what I came around to was that I chose to believe that because I just really couldn't accept the actual reality of my pain, which was that she was no longer her robustly healthy self. And I just really couldn't go there.
You've told me before that the biggest revelation for you was that you have a choice.
Yes,
And
right?
you're like, what?
Yes. So it does go back to that quote by Haruki Murakami. When I recall that, it was pain is inevitable and suffering is optional. So that just really opened up a new world of meaning to me. And so I realized that yes, there are things in life that happen that are unavoidable. And my daughter getting sick, that was unavoidable. But, that I chose my thought and that created my suffering, that was optional. But yet I created so much suffering for myself for years, really.
So for people listening, how
Yeah.
is the suffering optional? What can they do? How can they
Yeah.
even be aware? Like, how?
Yeah. Well, what
Because
I've learned,
why, to me, I was taught it doesn't matter why. why doesn't even matter. Like, okay, so how can we help ourselves is what's important.
Right. Yeah, it's so true. Well, first, I just want to say quickly, though, when I talk about pain being unavoidable, it's part of our life experience. And
Yeah.
when we accept it, it actually does pass. So I think in some ways, like for me, and probably for a lot of people, when we think about pain, we think that once we accept it, it's never going to go away. So the inclination is to try and avoid that pain. And that could be done in a whole host of ways. Like I avoid, daily pain with like Netflix or social media, maybe, overeating, that type of thing. And the fact of the matter is, though, if we really sit with our pain, it does not last. When we create our suffering, and that's what happens when we resist our pain, that can last forever. And it did for me until I decided or made the realization to not suffer.
What is the hardest thing that you've been through? And I would imagine it's this. And how did you
Yeah.
get through it?
Yeah, this is definitely the hardest thing I've been through. How did I get through it? I think just sitting down with my thoughts. For me, I think the first touch point was discovering the life coach that helped me a lot and understanding that I can choose my thoughts, that they don't just happen to me and they're not just a fact of my situation.
Do you still practice? Like you started, how did you end up? I mean, you've discovered this whole thing and now you're a coach yourself.
Right. Yes. So I'm in sort of a transition period. I'm still doing some of the radiology, but I'm getting more involved in my daughter's disease foundation. And I want to get more involved in rare disease advocacy. And I really do enjoy the coaching. And incidentally, when I do coach other people, it does feel like it's a reciprocal experience. And I do feel like I help myself because a lot of people experience very similar things.
Do you have a message of hope you want to give?
Yeah, I think my message is just that, life will definitely take you on many detours. And I guess just not to be afraid of it or resist it, and that know that you can always find your way back. And you can start by becoming aware of the thoughts you have in response to your painful reality.
Yeah, definitely. And you'll get through it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
There's so much on the other side of it if you do actually go through the pain. And like you said, for many people, it'll only last 90 seconds. I don't know how long it lasted for me, but it wasn't as long as I thought.
Yeah. No, and well, each time it'll last however long, but yeah, it doesn't,
It doesn't
it's
last.
not a whole day. It's even, you're never on a floor for an entire day. It's in snippets. Right?
Manage
Yeah.
it's more manageable, I think, than we think in our head.
Yeah, definitely. And the only way through is through.
So true.